Reggie, as President and CEO at Aariana Hospitality International, you've had to probably shoulder and carry the weight of a lot more challenges than most of us in terms of, the business. So could you tell us a little bit about sort of what this journey has been like for you since the beginning of last year?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. The problem is now when the MCO 1, we'll call it now. We are into MCO 2. So
Mm-hmm.
when the MCO 2 was first introduced or lockdown in March 18, it came like overnight. All right.
Mm,
Uh, None of us, in fact, were prepared for what was in store, and we actually had to do a lot to put things in place uh, because of SOPs that were coming out and a whole in fact, a whole list of SOPs that kept changing. I think,
mm,
with all due respect, even the government were a bit lost on how to handle it, and that's why they kept changing SOPs. And we, being frontliners in the hospitality industry, we also had to face those kind of challenges. All right, but it was tough,
mm.
and to be frank, it was not easy. It was not an easy journey.
I can imagine. I mean, with things changing constantly, as sort of the government were trying to feel their way around what would be the best sort of thing to do, and you guys having to sort of learn one thing, then unlearn that or add that in. Especially in a sort of big organization, and it just must have been um, such a weight. So,
Yes.
how did you and your immediate team set about to sort of handle that challenge of needing to quickly keep evolving and adapting, as well as all the other challenges that came along after that, which was sort of the longevity of this seemingly endless lockdown, etc.
Well, again, what we had, we knew it was coming. In by the context of what was happening in China. All right,
Mm,
we had our first case in Malaysia. I think we it was a few days back, exactly a year ago. At that time, it was in January, and surprisingly, in Langkawi, we were still doing fairly well. I think it did not, reality had not set in.
mhm,
But when the lockdown was introduced in March, what we had to do, in fact, in advance, we already started preparing for the worst. We got the management team together. We determined what we had to do, and of course, we are always emphasizing on safety standards
mm.
and hygiene. That is something that we were very. It was our priority to ensure that all of us were equipped with the necessary PPE. All right, the mask, the gloves,
Mhm.
and so forth. And of course, we were even more. Of course, it was even more difficult for us because we are in the hotel industry. All right, we have got the food standards to maintain hygiene, and we also had guests at the resort when the first lockdown was
Yeah.
introduced. Yeah.
Actually, when you say prepare for the worst, did like when you look at how it's been for a year and how long it's been, and people have still not really gotten back to normalcy, did it get to be as bad as you expected, or were things,
Or
wow,
are
it,
things worse? Yeah.
yeah, worse?
Well, to be frank, with MCO 2, we are better prepared. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Even after MCO 1, then it became CMCO, then they came onto the recovery mode. We always, in fact, always emphasize to the staff and my colleagues here that this is not the end. We must always be prepared for the second wave, the third wave, the fourth
mhm,
wave, and so I think this time around we are more prepared. We have everything in place. We have the SOPs in place. We have everything in place. So it was when the government introduced the latest MCO. All right, we just managed to put everything back in place like almost immediately because we have been doing this and we've been practicing all these SOPs that we have put in place. Even after the CMCO, RMCO, we still maintain SOPs. So this is what they call the new norm. All right,
yes, yes.
that is the phrase of the 2020, and now it's
Mm.
into 2021, the new norm.
Yes, the new norm. And hello, can you hear me? Because everyone's been on
On
Zoom.
Zoom, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, did you guys in the industry at large, I mean, have an indication that this was coming? I mean, you did mention it happened overnight, but back in January, you'd already had your first sort of case, I think. So, were you aware that this massive thing was on its way, and it wasn't if, but when it was going to hit?
Well, to be frank, we didn't expect it to have such an impact, because we thought, okay, it's just a passing thing. This is the first time
Mm,
in my lifetime I'm facing a pandemic. I've been through others like SARS, and Nipah and all that kind of thing, but that was more focused to Malaysia and certain areas.
mm,
Now, this is a pandemic which is worldwide, all
mm,
right? And to be frank, I think a lot of people have not actually gone through a pandemic, and everyone thought, okay, the latest by April, things will be slowly back to normal, but now we are coming into a year later, we are still not back to normal. We are still facing this, and we just need to bite the bullet and try to get through this in some way or another.
right. So, how badly was the hotel and tourism market affected in general? I mean, I know the world obviously sort of shut down, but could you translate that into layman's speak for us? And then from sort of that world stage for you and your, what's, Langkawi and your businesses.
Well, Langkawi being a tourist destination, of course, we were severely affected.
Mm,
Uh, we did not have, of course, Langkawi all along had a lot of foreign tourists coming in. All right, foreign tourists seem to enjoy Langkawi. They find that this is a very good destination.
mm-hmm,
So the moment there was a total lockdown, and no foreigners were allowed, foreign tourists were not allowed to come, it has severely affected the industry on a whole in Langkawi. I mean, I'm not talking about Langkawi, I'm talking about the whole of Malaysia, in fact, is facing that. But Langkawi has got, they depend on tourism, let's put it that way. They depend on tourism to survive. A lot of the industries here are tourist related industries. As such, this has severely affected Langkawi overall compared to maybe other regions. But I think there's no other industries in Langkawi except tourism.
tourism. So, how, in general, how have the sort of the people of Langkawi taken it? Those that like Bali and other places where their livelihoods are all centered around and have been for so long tourism.
Well, a lot of them have not been able to survive. Okay,
Mm,
they are depending on incentives given by the government. But again, how much can that incentives help them?
yeah.
Uh, we have tried to manage our employees to the best of our ability.
Mm,
Uh, Unfortunately, we had to lay off a few of them, but marginal, a very low percentage of staff we had to lay off, but we have managed to retain 90% of our staff. Uh,
That's quite incredible. I mean, how did you all manage to do that? Because that's really quite an impressive number.
we worked with them on certain initiatives that the resort was doing, which they understood. They fully understood the situation. They understood. We had to take them through a series of town hall meetings, explaining to them what is in store, what we are facing, and how we are doing our best to retain everyone as much as possible. Of course, there were a few staff, as I said, there were more of the new staff that had just joined,
Mhm.
which we had no choice but to release them with their necessary benefits. But the rest of the staff, we have retained them. And of course, at that time, there was there was a freeze on new hire, and we also managed to get them to multi-skill,
Mhm.
because the worst thing one could do is to completely close the resort for a period of time, because then what will we will then attract other issues with regards to maintenance
Right.
and
Yeah.
all that kind of issues. So we
Mm.
try to maintain the resort, of course, with the people that we have, and we had kitchen staff helping in landscape. We had landscape staff helping in the rooms. So that's
Mhm.
the time we took the opportunity to do up the rooms. I mean, touch up all the rooms that required attention. And I
Mm.
think as long as you had given them something to do, rather than they lying idle, that was a motivation for them.
Yeah, because in the past, and they need to be open to being able to be riskier. Because in the past, I know for a fact that hoteliers, if you're not happy at this hotel, you just jump over to another hotel because they generally stay in the industry. But I just read in Penang, one major hotel shut down. So hotels are just shutting down all over the place. Was it
Yeah.
the same way in Langkawi?
Well, we had a few hotels that closed. I mean, closed means not permanently closed, but temporarily closed
Mm.
during the first MCO. But if you're looking at the hotels that
Folding.
folding up is more of the smaller hotels rather than the big hotels.
Right.
And what else we did? I think we were one of the first hotels in Langkawi to introduce food delivery. All right, because
Oh,
food
okay.
delivery is something that is very common in the Klang Valley. All right, we have Food
Yeah.
Panda, we have Grab Food, we have so many other different options. But in Langkawi, it's quite limited. So we were one of the first hotels to introduce food delivery. We did it on our own, and that actually did generate a substantial amount of income or revenue, which also, again, it was a motivating factor for the staff because the kitchen staff, the food and beverage staff, and even other staff were helping with the food delivery, and they were very happy to see the kind of orders that were coming in on a daily basis. And I think that is something that kept them going.
Right. So this sort of town hall, I guess you could sort of translate that to transparency, and the sort of adaptiveness of them sort of being open to doing very vastly different things to what they were doing seemed to be sort of two key things that you employed in terms of dealing with this challenge.
Yes, I think when we were faced, in fact, other organizations, when you're faced with it, I think the most important thing is to be transparent with the staff. All right, put them in the room, okay, explain to them the situation, show them the facts and figures, and tell them this is what we have to do, and we need to do it together. All right, I can't do it, the GM can't do it, the head chef can't do it. It is a collective effort. So right down to the landscape attendant, the room attendant, we need to explain to them what this is about. And I think when you're transparent and you do not you lay the cards on the table, they understand, and then they will then also contribute accordingly.
Do you think that that transparency and that sort of togetherness actually creates the space for adaptability to actually grow, to even exist?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that being transparent is something that we need to do with all our employees to show them that they are part of the organization
Yeah.
rather than give them directives. When you're transparent with them, you'll find that they on their own will then come and offer and help and see what can be done in
Yeah.
order to maintain. I mean, we had, in fact, people from the recreation department, people from food and beverage department, people from the front office who were doing carrying out duties as makeshift security staff, because at that kind of at moments of this, all right, in times of when the situation is like this, one thing that is very critical is security. And our resort is the resort that we manage sits on the 50 acres of land, and there's so many entry points, and we should make sure that the security of the resort is maintained at all times.
Absolutely. Um, so I guess I'd like to know, sort of on a personal note, I mean, in your position, um, as I guess the leader, the face that you show everybody else is the can-do face, and the brave, practical face. But then there's also the other side of you. That's the person, the personal. That is the man. That is the family man who would have had your own sort of other layer of perhaps worries, concerns. Um, so, how did you motivate yourself? Or how did you lead yourself in order to be able to rise up to the occasion and just muck in?
Well, I'm always motivated. I get up in
Oh,
the
that's
morning. I,
how.
I, I,
Just
I
give us.
I get up in the morning. I'm motivated. When I get up, I,
Yeah.
I, I I just look at the resort and say, listen, this is going to be a beautiful day. All right, forget about what is happening. Let's go and make this a good day. and make sure that we get through it with everyone part of the
Mhm.
team.
But was
Right.
there any point where you woke up one day and like, how am I even gonna pay my staff? How am I gonna do this? There must have been some worry.
Of course, those worries is something that we have to live with. I've been through it all. I mean, I've been through this before. All right, how do we find the payroll for the staff? But if there's a will, there is a way, of course,
Mhm.
and it's all about planning. That's why I said after the first time, we are more prepared for this time around to
Mhm.
make sure that the staff are well taken care of, and we are pleased to say that the staff were also very supportive, and of course, there were also incentives given by the government on the wage subsidy program
Mhm.
and things like that that helped us to offset part of the costs. So,
Okay.
so that was a bonus to us.
So, um, you said that you'd set up a delivery service, which has helped immensely, or at least kept employees busy and doing,
I'm bringing
um,
money in.
and bringing money
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Exactly. So, how did that sort of idea come to fruition and then get rolled out? What's it called? Your delivery service?
Oh, it's just called Tanjung Road Food Delivery. All
Okay.
right, it's done by the hotel, and of course, when we were thinking, all right, when lockdown was implemented,
The
I
first
tried.
one.
Yeah, the first one,
Hmm.
MCO one.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, we have got an excellent team of kitchen people. We churn out some amazing dishes. So I said, let us do this, all right, and let us be the first hotel in Langkawi to introduce, because a lot of people maybe cannot afford, all right. The local people might not be able to afford to come to a five-star resort
Hmm.
and have a meal, all right. But if we are able to offer them this service, of course, at that time they couldn't even come to the resort at a reasonable sum. I think
Hmm.
we will have some response, because they say, hey, listen, Tanjung Ru is providing food delivery services. Let us see what we can do. And we priced our items at very reasonable prices.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that we priced it at the prices you'll find by the roadside stores, but they were affordable.
Right.
And that's why I think a lot of locals, it became viral that this was happening at Tanjung Ru, and we had and sometimes we couldn't cope with orders. We used to have certain items that were
Wow.
sold out before
Wow.
delivery time, and this
Thank
was
goodness.
especially during the fasting time. All
All
right,
right.
so for the iftar, we had a lot of
Mm.
very very unique menu items,
Mm.
and it became the talk of Langkawi to competitors start saying, hey, you guys are doing amazing things for locals. I said, well, this is the time where we can see what we can do and
Yeah.
help the local community.
It's
Mm.
great. It's helping to supplement your income. I'm just wondering how much it's helping, because how are you guys able to do this? Whereas hotels in Penang, like Hotel Equatorial, I just read, shut
Yeah.
down, equally as big, or they have a history. How have what have you done that's right, that's keeping you afloat or even doing well right now, where others have failed?
Uh, well, let's put it this way. Yeah, Penang is also a destination. All right. And Equatorial, they've got a history. They're a huge hotel. Uh, but Langkawi, as I say, Langkawi seems to be a preferred destination even for the domestic travelers. All right. And I call this the moment the interstate travel was allowed,
Mm.
we had what we call, I term it as revenge traveling. All right, revenge traveling. I've got a
Yeah.
whole bunch of friends, a whole bunch of our repeat customers. All right, the moment they knew that the interstate was going to be allowed, we just were having bookings coming in. We had to turn away bookings, and
Mm.
they came, and it was complete revenge. They were sitting at home for something like 3 months, so
Yeah.
they saved a lot of money. So
Mm.
they just came here and they just,
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah,
freedom, right?
I love
freedom.
it. I love it.
So it's not only the rooms. Of course, they came, they spent on
Mm.
food and beverage and
Yeah.
the works, and you could just see them. I spoke to so many of the guests at that time, and they
Mm.
said we just needed to get out. We just
Mm.
needed to get out. We have been trapped in our home for 3 months,
Yeah.
and we just needed a break. And what else? What better place to come than Langkawi?
Yeah,
Right.
I'd rather be trapped in an island than my
Right, yeah,
room.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So I guess, Reggie, what I'd like to ask is, there are obviously you've been doing a lot of things right. Your team, the people that you work with are really open to being adaptive and going with it, going with the moment, sort of thing. Um, but there are a lot of businesses that are struggling, people who sort of closed up shop but haven't folded at the moment in MCO2. What's your advice to struggling businesses today? What would you impart to them if any one of them would turn up in your office and go, Reggie, I don't know what to do?
Well, you see, in situations like this, you really have to think out of the box. All right, when you're so into something you've been doing, or like running your own business, even how small it is, for years and years, and suddenly you're faced with a crisis like this, you should look at what can I do to be able to generate some income. All right, anything, basically anything and everything. I'm sure you have read a lot of stories about pilots, all right, airline crew that were laid off. Okay, they opened up burger stalls and all that,
Mm-mm.
all
Yeah.
the kind of thing, just to that they can supplement,
Mm,
generate some income. Yesterday, I was, in fact, I got a bit pretty bored with all the hotel food, so I decided to go out and buy a burger from the burger stall. Even though we have burgers here, I wanted
mm,
something different, typical burger from the burger stall.
yeah.
And I was talking to the guy who was running the stall, and then he was asking me, "Oh, you're from Tanjung Rhu," and we discussed. So I asked him. He
Mm,
said, "I've been running this business since MCO." I said, "What?" He said, "I haven't been working since MCO last year.
mm.
So I've been doing this business." So I said, "What do you actually do?" He said, "No, I'm a captain of a mangrove boat. Because
Wow.
Wow.
we have all these beautiful mangroves in
Yeah.
Langkawi, with all these boats, and they call him captain, like the skipper of the mangrove boat."
Mm,
So he said, "I have not been able to. I haven't had a job since the MCO, and I need to do something." And he said, "I've been doing this." So I told him, "Hey, actually, I'm impressed that you have done this, and you're still here." He said, "Yeah, at least it able to supplement my income. I generate income. It's enough for me to manage with the family."
yeah.
You see, a guy who was a skipper of a boat, all
Mm,
right, is now selling burger near Tanjung Rhu, and I would
fantastic.
say he's in generating enough income to support himself and the family. And they're
Mm,
all there. His wife was there, he was there, and I think his children
mm,
was there.
yeah.
Uh, and I think you just have to think of what you can do. Of course, a lot of people have gone into Grab drivers, but
Mhm,
e-hailing services.
yeah.
But there are so many other things you can do. All right, a lot of people have gone to also food delivery, selling food. Okay, providing food online. So I never knew I had so many friends who have become excellent cooks over the past
Yeah, I
one
know,
Mm,
right?
year.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazed me actually. The one thing I've been very proud of my fellow Malaysians for has been this complete entrepreneurial spirit that's just kind of burst out of people and them doing things they probably never thought that they could do, and then when put into a situation have done it. And um the tenacity of these people are amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You see, I do admire these people, because you see, food is something that will definitely generate revenue for you.
Yeah.
All right, people need to eat,
Mm,
and a lot of people, even after the relaxation of the MCO to CMCO, RMCO,
mhm.
uh, there are still people who are very careful about going out, mixing, going to restaurants,
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing.
Mm,
So the food delivery service seems to be still there. It still
mhm.
seems to be doing fairly well,
Yeah.
and I see some of these people who have gone into this kind of business are professionals. You've got some people, they were so used to earning a fixed salary,
Mhm,
and they were, let's say, a bit hesitant to go into business.
mhm.
They never knew they can generate income of this nature. But
Yeah.
I am pleased to see that it's still doing well. I still see it every day on social media. So many people that I know
Yep.
churning out some mouth-watering dishes.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I'm in Langkawi, so I can't
Well, I
No,
manage
think a
no.
to.
lot of them would trade being
Yeah.
there. But okay, so listen, Reggie, at some stage there's going to be the balance shift backwards, where the tourism and travel will start to happen again in whatever iteration it happens, it will come back. Are you going to be keeping your Tanjong Rhu delivery service where, anyone can have sort of a taste of your kitchens, at a sort of more accessible rate, whilst keeping this gorgeous, because I love your resort, gorgeous estate sort of going
Well,
back up.
to be frank, what we did do is we temporarily suspended the service, I think around August last year, because
Mhm.
of the influx of revenge travelers that we had.
Right.
So what we then did is in November, we decided, I told them, do not neglect the food delivery service, because that is something that can generate some sort of income, and that is something that will always be there. So anybody who wants to still order from our food delivery service, we need to find a way to do it. And of course, because of the revenge traveling, it is something that we couldn't do on our own. So what we do is now we work with a third party in Langkawi. It's called Tapao.
Right.
So we work with them. So the food comes from us. They handle the delivery,
Right.
and it's similar to the Grab and the Food
Yeah,
Panda that we have here. But they cover the whole of Langkawi, because Food Panda and Food Panda, actually they have got only certain locations that they
Right.
deliver. So we are still on Tapao now. So we still do food delivery.
Because it's great. I just think it's great PR, because Air Asia, they have their Santan restaurants all over
Yeah.
now, and it's people love that.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about for you. So I was just thinking, what
Yeah.
when things go back to normal,
Yeah.
will this still run? What if this thing continues? Let's say this pandemic continues on beyond 2022 or 2021. What's
Yeah.
gonna happen next? Because some hotels, they started doing co-working spaces, come to the
Yeah.
hotel and work there.
Yeah.
You seem like a guy with plenty of ideas. So what else is up your sleeve?
Yeah.
Well, we actually also worked. We have also worked with another third party. This we did it last year already, where we gave preferred rates for those who want to work from home. So especially for the expat community that rent or lease expensive condominiums in the Golden Triangle and other
Yeah.
areas. So we have given them an option. Of course, we work with another service provider, because that is something you do not want to do directly. So we work with another service provider to rent out our suites at a very competitive rate, where they can come, they can work from here. They got the beautiful sunset. They can see 2 kilometers of white sand beach, and work from
Please
home.
stop. Please just stop
She wants to-
describing it. I'm just sitting here, just getting irritated now that I
We're
can't
just
be
stuck
there.
here. This-
Yeah.
So
Well,
what I
stop you
normally what I normally do is during MCO, I will always post on my Facebook the sunsets at Tanjung Rhu.
Oh my
All right.
goodness.
You're a cruel man, Reggie. A cruel, cruel man.
Because technically it is still WFH, but you're working from hotel.
Yeah.
Oh
It's still
yeah.
WFH. Yeah. And so
I'd like to work from hotel.
Right? Yeah, we should do that. My
we,
goodness.
we give you Wi-Fi, we give you the housekeeping services, you've got your IPTV, all right? And then again, you get up to 2 kilometers of white beach sand.
Oh, okay, we're in the wrong job. But I just thought of a name for your if you want to continue the delivery service, yeah, Rulivery.
Rue
I
delivery.
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Love it. Perfect.
Rue delivery by Tanjung Rhu.
Rulivery, yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Now I really want Tanjung Rhu food right now.
I know, me
You gotta try to
too.
figure out how to send it to KL for us. Oh my goodness.
Do you guys still
All
have
right.
your like Sego Gula Melaka thingy that was on the menu?
Saigo Gula Melaka is on the menu, and the other one is that pandan cream brulee.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Okay, so revenge travel for Asha and JD. The moment this thing clears up, we're coming down.
Please let me know. Let us. We'll be more than happy to host.
We'll
both of
definitely
you.
do that. Thanks so much, Reggie.